Hi, everyone. Welcome to our conference session on inclusive technology tools for all learners. We're coming to you from Assistive Technology Services in Fairfax County Public Schools. And to introduce myself, I am the manager of Assistive Technology Services. My name is Jeff Sisk.
And I'm Jennifer Carr, the educational specialist at Assistive Technology Services.
And I'm Megan Tracy, the Technology Integration Specialist at Assistive Technology Services, also known as ATS.
So we have a big topic I feel that we're throwing at you guys today, and inclusive technology tools for all learners. A lot of big words there, and this applies to a lot of technologies that are available to everyone inside of Fairfax County Public Schools or even outside of Fairfax County Public Schools. So in terms of inclusive technology tools, we just introduced ourselves as a part of the Assistive Technology Services Department, and we're kind of changing the verbiage there a little bit to speak to inclusive technology tools. There are a lot of assistive technology tools that a student may have access to where they're individually evaluated, and we're speaking to a lot of individual accommodations that student may receive. But there's also a large amount of tools that are still considered accommodations that all students have access to, and really diversifies their access to learning and customizes their learning experience. And so we're presenting that within the context of universal design for learning. And there's a quote that's sitting there in front of you that states UDL is a framework to think about how different tools and resources can be leveraged to reduce barriers and support all learners to engage challenging ways of thinking. And so that's what we're presenting to you today. Megan and Jennifer and I, we've been around for a little bit. And when we talk about assistive technology accommodations, things that we used to place, I'm not going to say a long time ago, but some time ago, we're really kind of unique and kind of harder to get assistive technology tools. Not so much anymore. And we're thrilled to see it. More and more inclusive technology tools are available to everyone. An example of this, if you're watching this presentation, you probably have a mobile phone sitting next to you, probably pretty close, because that's what we do. We all carry them around. If you go to text someone at some point with your mobile phone, a word selection will come across the bottom as word prediction. That type of technology tool used to be more of an exotic technology feature as an example of something that's more widely available to a broader population. And of course, we all strategize and use those in different ways according to our own needs. And that's that experience of an inclusive technology tool being implemented in a more universal setting. There's a lot to that, by the way. We're going to touch on a few of those pieces in this presentation. I'm going to speak to a few of those tools first, specifically executive functioning tools. We'll look at reading and writing also. But I'd like to show you some examples as opposed to just simply talking about them and presenting them in the slideshow format. So I'm going to jump out of the slideshow to do so. So give me a couple seconds here, and let me adjust my screen so that I can go to an internet browser window, which I really just kind of did quickly in front of you all. Had that set up and ready to go. But if you're on your computer, you can do something, say, open Google Chrome, and I have Google Chrome up right now, and find our resources as inclusive technology tools and resources. We house a lot and communicate a lot of our resources in our public website. There's a lot of ways to get to our public website. I personally find the easiest way is to simply just do a search. You see me here in Google. To do a Google search for ATS, I'm in that top URL bar, ATS, FCPS, and we have that acronym there of Assistive Technology Services of ATS and the acronym of Fairfax County Public Schools. And if I hit that and search for it, the first item that I get is Assistive Technology Services in Fairfax County Public Schools. You can go to the fcps.edu website also, conduct a search for ATS or assistive technology. Same page will come up for you. You'll have access to the same types of materials. So that page should have changed. You should see that now. If I scroll down a bit further, I see some cards relating to subtopics on assistive technology that you can find good information on. And the card that was first kind of displayed in my slideshow, referring back to the slideshow, was this assistive technology and executive functioning card. So if I click on that card, I'm going to be directed to a different page. coming up slowly there for me. And I move down, get a bit of description regarding assistive technology and executive functioning, but we do like to feature here these inclusive tools. Tools that would work for certain on an FCPS-owned computer. We've, you may have heard of the FCPS On initiative, which was the beginning of, one-to-one computing for students prior to current pandemic closures. So in other words, we've certainly facilitated and accelerated the use of our inclusive tools with all students having computers in their hands recently, but that was happening even prior to that school closure that just recently happened. We've always been at Assistive Technology Services very excited about the FCPS On initiative because of the amount of inclusive technology tools that are immediately available to students. And so, as a part of that, we began housing more and more resources in this public environment so that, that more and more people would have access to them. I'm mentioning FCPS devices and FCPS On specifically, but, in that approach also, in that inclusive tools for all learners, we're also looking for what we would call platform agnostic tools. So, in other words, tools that would work on multiple types of devices, multiple types of platforms, whether it be in the Google Chrome environment, whether it be in the Windows environment, or whether it be in a Mac environment, for example, things that are universally applied and used in a lot of diverse places. So, kind of speaking to the website and what it's about a little bit. So, getting back to executive functioning specifically, showing those actual examples. I have some subsections, down below on that page. There's a lot of, strategies that we can apply towards different, needs with a student may have with executive functioning. A big one, that we address is time management. How a student would track assignments, make sure that they tend to assignments and tend to a schedule, complete assignments, on time and on a pace that's set by their classroom teacher. So one of the first things I see pop up and I see in this list is a lot of items that exist within Google Workspace for Education. Google Workspace for Education used to be called Google Suite for Education. So in other words, a student's Google environment. And so I have good information here on Google Calendar and Google Keep. And I'm going to show you a few of those examples, kind of how a student may use some of those tools and work in conjunction with one another to manage that time. So that's where you can find what I'm about to show you. But with that being said, I want to show you some good stuff. So I'm going to jump to another tab to do that right now. So I'm going to open a new tab here. And that Google page comes up for me again. If I'm a student, I may be logged into my Google Workspace for Education environment. I would know that because I would have this initial towards the upper right-hand corner of the screen. That would hopefully show my initials if I'm active within my Google Workspace for Education environment. If not, once that's logged into by a student, they're always logged in and ready to go. I have this waffle icon towards the right, and if I click on that waffle icon, some people call it waffle, some people call it a tic-tac-toe square, I have all of the applications built into my Google Workspace for Education environment that I may want to access. Now, I don't know if you remember back on our resource tab, I'm going to eventually get to some of these time management resources and the tools that are there. Again, big topic, diverse kind of tools that are out there. I'm going to click on my Google Keep tab. If you've never seen or used Google Keep before, it's a quick and simple note-taking tool. I'm in newly created account. It's an open account. There you see nothing here but a blank workspace. If I was in my personal, I can tell you that if I was in my personal Google Keep tab, you would see a big mess of notes that are here. And that's what it would do for me, is it would track and keep notes of things that, that I just need to remember, almost like a sticky note that you would place on your desk, a Post-it note. And that's the first item that I have across the top. If I click inside of that item, that's where I begin my note-taking process. So again, I'm thinking back to time management. I need to complete some things inside of, say my social studies class. So, I need to read maybe some pages of a book. We can go with a specific title. I'm just using this as just kind of a wide example. of a book. So I'm going to read pages, say 22 to 32. I need to answer 10 questions on page 32. And I need to turn this assignment in. And I need to do this, say, in Mr. Sisk's classroom. So I just gave the title to that note. When I close the note, that's automatically there and it saves for me. I can continue to make more and more notes, and I can get in a range and organizing and sorting those notes very differently. If I had more time, I would show you how to do that. But, you know, just a couple quick and easy, simple tools that I can do just kind of out of the gate with this note. If I click on the note, open it back up, just one click will open it back up to me. I also have the option, just, you know, everybody likes check boxes on a to-do list, especially if I'm comparing it to the old paper pencil model and that yellow Post-it note. I have a section here with my extra kind of my more selection, which are these 3 dots that are vertically aligned. If I click there to show checkboxes, that turns into, you know, a place where if I close the note that I'm there, I can check off and it'll strike through when I've completed that task. So I can refer back to this as a student, check things off as I'm done. That's all well and good, but I might need a little bit more than that even, just, you know, the tasks and the checklist and to-do list. If I hover over top of that note or even click on it to open it again, towards the bottom left-hand corner of that note, I can also set a reminder. So if and maybe that was not the Google Keep reminder when you just heard that phone pop off. So, you know, and that was not necessarily a reminder for me to set the reminder. That was just a little extra bonus that was unplanned. But I'm going to click on that reminder. And this is where I can use my settings to set the reminder. So I can, you know, basically, when is this going to be due? So I'm going to, you know, I'm going to go with later today. Let me click on that again. That allows me to kind of set the settings. I could do this a week from now, but just for the sake of, you know, demonstration, I'm going to make this sooner rather than later, so you can see how reminders populate, you know, in terms of, you know, where I know that I'll be notified that I need to do this. So I'm going to go with, you know, I'm sorry. Let me click away from that. Let me try that again. Click on my reminder. And I can scroll down here to custom at the time. And that'll allow me to type over top of that time. It's going to be due very quickly. It's about 2 o'clock when we're recording this. So I'm going to go with 2:30 p.m. This is not going to repeat. It's going to be due today. And I click save. And then I close that reminder. The nice thing about Google Keep is it automatically integrates with Google Calendar. So as a, you know, as a student, I can track that and go to my calendar and kind of get the bigger picture of all things that are due and see when they are due. And, you know, just as I accessed Google Keep through that waffle icon is another tool that's in my Google Workspace for Education. I'm going to open up a second tab just so you guys can see what's going to happen inside of my Google Calendar. I can click on the waffle icon over to the right. I missed my calendar.
It's right at the third or
yes.
fourth. There you go.
Thank you very much. I did miss my calendar. Jennifer eyeballed that more quickly than I did. There it is. I was afraid, like I just had that momentary pause of like it didn't populate, and it did. So when my calendar fully loaded, I see my note that's there. I can click on that note. You know, it lets me know that, you know, that this is due, and, you know, that, in other words, I'm just going to be adding these items to my calendar as I see fit, you know, inside of Google Keep. Another way that Google Keep will integrate just, you know, in other places inside of the Google Workspace for Education environment. If I click on a new tab, and that's how, you know, it displays inside of Google Calendar. If I go into my Google Drive, which was to the left of my Google Calendar, maybe the icon that I noticed first. I'm going to click that Google Drive icon. You can see a list of things inside of this Google Drive. And I've patiently waited for things to populate. Google Keep also integrates inside of Google Drive and also Google Documents. So if I click there, I'll get a preview. And I can see as I'm working on different items, you know, if I'm saying, if this was, I'm answering 10 questions, this is a writing assignment that I'm writing inside of Google Drive, I can access that note there. And when I'm done answering those 10 questions, check it off on my checklist. So just a quick and easy organizational tool. You can log into your fcpsschools.net Google Workspace for Education environment in multiple devices. Doesn't necessarily need to be a Fairfax County owned device, and have access to any notes and reminders and checklists that you need to see at any given time as a student. So that kind of takes up, you know, a few recommended items that are on that page. You can take a good amount of time to explore other resources that are here within the time management section, as well as other sections inside of assistive technology tools for executive functioning. So those are the few items that I'm going to show to you, you know, just kind of quickly again. And now I'm going to let Megan and Jennifer take over. They're going to speak to other, you know, good stuff that are out there for, you know, inclusive tools.
Thanks, Jeff. So one just little added bonus that you mentioned, you could use it on other devices. So Google Keep is also an app that you can use on your phone. So on your phone, if you're logged into your fcpsschools.net account or wherever you logged in, whichever Google account you're using, as long as you're logged into the same Google account on your phone, you can reference your assignments and your tasks and that kind of thing real quickly on your phone as well. So I just wanted to throw that in there as an added bonus. So my part of the presentation is to talk about inclusive reading tools. And I'm going to start with a very motivating video from a young 5th grader who really talks about the beauty of having an inclusive tool that she found that she wanted to use in her classroom. And rather than being isolated and being the only one that was using the tool, she is teaching her peers and her teachers how to use this tool as well. So it's just a quick 3-minute motivating video, and I'm going to show that now.
And Megan, hold on a second, because I'm going to stop sharing and you'll need to start sharing.
That would probably help. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, you guys give me the thumbs up when that's ready. We're good to go?
Yeah.
Okay, so here is Emmy's story.
Hi, I'm Emmy. I'm a 5th grader at Poplar Tree Elementary School, and I have dyslexia and dysgraphia. In 3rd grade, when I first found out that I was dyslexic at the beginning of the year, I kept on struggling and got really frustrated on how I couldn't read. And when I had a story that we were assigned to do, all of the words that were in my head didn't come out on paper and how I wanted them to.
She took a pretty big hit to her self-esteem that year. And she was not feeling very confident and was definitely not the same rambunctious kid that we had had.
My mom showed me a video made by Dyslexia, and they were talking about like famous successful people who had dyslexia and how they succeeded in life, and how dyslexia isn't something to be ashamed of.
They had somebody from Microsoft talking about Immersive Reader. And so we started looking at these videos, and that was making a really big difference to her.
Today I am going to talk about Immersive Reader. Microsoft has...
So Immersive Reader is a free tool on Microsoft Edge that reads to you and has parts of speech, because I'm not the one who masters nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs. It says which is which, so I know what it is.
We're looking at different abilities and skills. There's not a one tool that fits all. So we tried different screen readers, and while she liked those, it's not really working for her the way that Immersive Reader does. And I really saw this huge amount of success and confidence grow with her this year, because she's actually finding the success with that, and the way that it works more with her learning style.
And ever since Emmy has been using this, as the year has gone along, She's just become so much more comfortable putting her headphones on whenever she needs to use the technology. She's shown teachers how to use it. You know, I've called other kids over and she's helped me help them get it on their computer and use the technology in order to listen to science articles and things like that.
Emmy is one of 43 students on the tech squad. And one of the questions we ask is, why do you want to be a part of the squad? And her answer was, I want to help other students find out what kind of technology can help them with their learning, like technology helps me learn. They are teaching teachers how to use these tools because they are oftentimes more experts than we are. So we started that and we called them tech chats. And at the end of the meeting that day, Emmy came right up to me and she said very confidently, Ms. Lacey, I want to lead a tech chat on Immersive Reader.
Hearing a student advocating for themselves and finding a tool for themselves, I think it's more powerful for a student to say it.
The fact that she wanted to come in and talk to her teachers and tell her teachers about this amazing software that she had found and that she was starting to be open to talking about it was just, it was breathtaking for us. It was amazing.
My family has been very supportive of, and all of my teachers have, like, learning about this tool and like telling more people about it.
And I hear like other kids in her class are using this tool too. If they found that it is helpful for them, I think just by her leading that in front of teachers gave her the confidence to then help other students find ways it can work for them.
Just the advocacy she has in her own education, wanting to have others have that same success, it's a really powerful thing to see. In the beginning of 4th grade, when I made my digital resume, the one thing I wanted to do is help people, and I'm doing that right now by telling people about this tool.
So that's just a great feel-good story, and there's lots of levels or layers to that story. Emmy obviously was a great advocate for her own learning, and this is a super success story in terms of assistive technology. But as you can see from the video, the tool she chose and the tool she was talking about was one that was available to all students. So once Emmy mastered the skill of using this tool for herself, she was able to share that skill with her peers and again with her teachers. So I'm going to take a minute now and show you what this tool looks like in action. So Immersive Reader is a Microsoft tool, and you can find it in many different Microsoft tools, Microsoft products. For instance, you can use it in Microsoft Edge, which I'm going to show you today. You can also use it in OneNote, Microsoft OneNote, and also Microsoft Word. And there are also a few other ed tech companies that are now starting to pair up with Microsoft and including their Immersive Reader into their products. So you may have heard students, or you may have heard of other people talk about products like Flipgrid or Pear Deck or Nearpod. So Microsoft has teamed up with them to put some of these accessibility features within their products as well. So I'm going to show you a website. We're going to talk a lot about George Washington today, as you'll see as we move on through the presentation. So this website about George Washington is a lot of text, but you'll notice that it also has some other distractions in it, some links over here, some tools over here. So in Edge, when I go to my URL bar, I have a little icon here that is the Immersive Reader icon. So if I click on that, that's going to launch the Immersive Reader. So the first thing you'll see that happens is it completely cleans up my page. So I have now just kind of all I can focus on is the text. And that really helps students that might be distracted by other things happening on the screen. A lot of times you'll see ads and those kinds of things. So this is going to narrow into just the text. Then you'll see a toolbar pops up here at the top. The first thing I'm going to show you is the read aloud. So you'll notice when I click on read aloud,
George Washington, the White House. Presidents. George Washington, the first president of the United States.
So up here, I can hit pause, I can hit play, I can fast forward. So I have a lot of different options here right in my toolbar. Over here on the right, I also have some additional voice options. I can actually speed up or slow down the speech of the reader. And I can also change to a few free different voices. So there's other options there. So that's basically the read aloud, and I'm going to show you some of the other tools. The text preferences is really nice. So basically, depending on students, visual preferences, you can change the text size. Well, that just changed George's picture, but as you can see, that also makes the text bigger. You can also change text spacing. So this is going to space out not only the characters in the words, but also the words. And this can definitely help with students with reading difficulties. And lastly here, you can change the color of the background and the color of the text. So for instance, if I have a student who prefers the black background with white text, I can change it that way there as well. So I'm going to kind of move back to some more normal options there. Okay, the next tool over here is grammar tools. And you heard Emmy in the video talk a little bit about not knowing the difference between a noun and a verb and an adjective. Well, this is where she could go in and turn on the nouns. And this is going to change the color of the nouns to purple, or you can have it changed to a different color as well. It will also change the color of adjectives to green. So you can turn those tools on, and you can kind of go through and find the different grammar tools. The other thing it'll do is it'll actually put syllables in for you. So if the student might have trouble reading some of the words, they can see that it's broken down into syllables like united, so they can kind of sound it out as they go. I'm going to take these off. And the last thing I'm going to show you here is going to be the reading preferences. So if I turn on reading preferences for line focus, you'll notice that I have options to mask my text. So if it's better for me to read one line at a time, I can use this first selection. If it's better for me to read maybe 3 lines at a time and focus in, I can use that selection, and so on and so forth. So this last one is going to be 5 lines at a time. The other thing that is really nice about the reading preferences is the picture dictionary. So you'll notice here, if I turn the picture dictionary on, when I take my mouse and I scroll over some words, you'll see that my mouse pointer turns into a star. If my mouse pointer turns into a star, that means there's a picture available to go along with this word. So if I click on the word military, you'll notice that I get that visual, that picture dictionary of what military is. And then lastly here in reading preferences, you'll see the translate option. So you can change the entire page to a different language, or you can choose to be able to translate certain words. And that's going to be very helpful for students in English as a second language. So that's about it in terms of the learning tools that the Immersive Reader, that Emmy mentioned in her video. But I want to talk a little bit about all the other inclusive tools and where you can find them on our website. So Jeff mentioned, if you go to our main website, he scrolled down to go to the executive functioning card. He called it a card. So this is the executive functioning card, but you'll see we also have a technology tools to support all learners. And this is where you're going to find a lot of other inclusive tools for reading, writing, keyboarding, and many other things. So if you scroll down, you'll see we have keyboarding resources, organizational resources, reading resources, writing, math, captioning, and additional tools. So if I focus on the reading resources, you'll see there's lots of different inclusive tools that are available to students. Immersive Reader is located right here. So if you want to go back and review kind of what I showed you today, there's lots of tutorials. This is Emmy's video here. If you want to review her motivating video, you can do that. There's also, different websites here that'll help simplify text and help students with reading. There's tools in Microsoft Office. And then there's one other tool that I want to show you today. I was able to pick 2 that I could show you. So I'm going to show you what's called Natural Reader. So a lot of our students, Immersive Reader is a great tool, but it's in Microsoft Edge, and that's what I just showed you. And a lot of our students are not using Edge at this time. A lot of them are using Chrome. So what I'm going to show you now is Natural Reader, which can be used in Chrome. It is a Chrome extension, and it's also a downloadable program. So students can have access to it through our app V, or on their home computer. They can actually just download the free program off of the website. So again, this is a tool that's available to all students. So I'm going to go back to my George Washington article here, because again, it has lots of good text. And I'm going to show you for now just the Natural Reader extension. I'm not going to show you the installed version, but there are tutorials on that as well. So if you notice up in my extension bar, I have a little N here, and that's Natural Reader. So what I can do is turn that on, and you'll notice that I get a play button and a few other little buttons that I'll talk about in a minute. So just to kind of show you how this works, I hit on the play button.
George Washington. On April 30th, 1789, George Washington, standing on the balcony of Federal Hall on Wall Street in New York.
So you'll notice it goes right away. It picks up the text, and it actually highlights as it reads. You have the stop button as well. Then you also have different settings, just like we did in Immersive Reader. So in Immersive Reader, I showed you some different settings like highlighting and things like that. You can choose to highlight sentence and word, sentence only, word only, or even turn off the highlighting if your students don't like it. You can also change some of the coloring of the highlighting. And you can also use this little tool, which actually allows you to highlight text and then have it read. You can see here that it says for me, if I highlight 300 characters, this little icon is going to appear and it'll read it for me. I can change that to different numbers of characters, but just to kind of show you how that works, I'm going to close this settings box here, and I'm going to highlight, and hopefully you'll be able to see this, but I'm going to highlight what I think is going to be about 300 characters. And you see this little headphone icon appears? Can you guys see that? So the little, oh, it just went away. Hold on, there it is. So if I click on that, then that'll read what I just highlighted.
Born in 1732 into a Virginia planter family.
So that's just a couple different highlighting features that you can use. You can also, like in Immersive Reader, change the speed, change the voice volume. You can also, we talked about the highlighting, and then we talked about the other thing. So those are like kind of the basic tools that you can use with this free program. One other thing I want to show you about this program is these three little dots, which usually mean more. These will allow you to turn on more features. So you can actually turn on closed caption here. And basically what that's going to do, let's see if I can do it this way, is it's going to turn closed captioning on in the bottom there. But the beauty of that is, oh, let me see 1 second. Somewhere in here, under my closed captioning, hold on, give me 1 second. I kind of lost where that is. Where was that tool? Somewhere in here, under fonts. Let's see if I can go back up. These are the different voices. Text highlight, dyslexia fonts. So in my settings, I have something called dyslexia fonts. And as you can see here, that applies to the closed captioning panel. So it's been determined that there's a certain font for students with dyslexia that helps them to read the text better. And if I turn that on, and then I go back to my closed captioning, sorry, let's try to read from here. You'll see now that the font,
1732 into a Virginia planter family, he learned the morals.
You'll see that the font there is using the dyslexia font. So if students have trouble reading the font here in the actual website, they can turn that on and read through the dyslexia font. There's also the click to read. Right now I have mine off, but if I turn it on and I click this sentence, it'll start right here at this sentence.
He pursued two intertwined interests, military arts and Western
Auto scroll will just keep scrolling the web page as you read. And then the last thing I want to show you is this convert to MP3. You can see there's a little star there next to it. This is actually a paid feature. However, there are some pieces of it that will work in the free version. So if I click on convert to MP3, you'll notice that it takes the text from my web page and it puts it in a nice clean document. I can apply the dyslexia font here as well. There are a couple other things I can do. I can make text bigger, make text smaller. I can paste in information in here. And then I can also share. So I can share this article with my teacher, with a peer, with someone I might be working in a group with. And it will open in this actual window. So I know I went really fast and I showed you a lot of different reading tools, but I want to just kind of refer back one more time to our ATS public webpage. And if you go to the technology tools to support all learners cards, you can find all the information I showed you plus additional information right here in these external links. So I'm going to turn this over now to Jennifer, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about the writing resources.
Thank you, Megan. I'm excited to actually go third. Sometimes it's hard to follow these two because they do like to talk a lot, but then so do I. So we all have to kind of share the time, and we've gotten really good at it. But what's really neat about my part with this is that I'm going to kind of be able to show you how all of those things can kind of work together that Jeff showed you and that Megan showed you to support writing. So I'm going to go ahead and present my screen. And so what we have that is an inclusive tool, the first thing I'm going to show you is within Word, okay? So, you know, Jeff was mentioning how before word prediction was kind of, you know, a higher level assistive technology tool. But Microsoft Office has incorporated that into Word. So I'm going to show you how to turn it on. You're just going to click in your little search bar here, and we're going to type in typing. Now, it's not completely intuitive, if you ask me. Hang on, let me scooch it over. It opened in another window. Okay, so here we are in typing, and you want to scroll down to the hardware keyboard, okay? So that's right here. Show suggestions as I type, and I apologize if this part is really tiny on your screen. I've tried to blow it up and there was not a way that I could get it that it was kind of seamless. So you would just turn this on, and when it's on, it's on. So here we are, we've got George Washington because, you know, Mr. Sisk was doing something in his history class, right? And so Megan and I, it must have been about George Washington. And so Megan had done some reading on George Washington, and now our assignment was to go ahead and write about what we have learned. So I have my first sentence that George Washington was our first president. And we also know that he was born in Virginia, okay? So again, you're gonna see some words pop up and it's gonna be small on your screen. And I apologize for that. Again, I played with it and I couldn't figure out a way, but you'll get the idea and the flavor. So he, H, and then I have a, and hi. That's not what I want. E, right? Hey, here, and hello. E, maybe it has another E. He, oh, there it is. There's here and he. So it also kind of supports students as maybe they're spelling, but not getting it exactly right. So he was, z. And I can get was, W-A-S. And it was really nice because it actually gave it to me the first time, but it was nice that I didn't get it right away and I stuck with spelling it my way and it still provided it as an option. He was born, born. I have born, and born in. He was born in. Oh, so I can click that. In Virginia. Okay, urge. Oh, and there it is. I spelled VRG, and it has very, Virginia, and Verge, and it's even going to capitalize it for me. So I'm going to put a period here. So kind of to wrap a little bit, I'm not going to go into it too much, but what Megan showed you, she mentioned Immersive Reader, right? So I could go into View, and at the top, you can see there's Immersive Reader up here. So although Windows predictive text doesn't give us the option to hear our word choices, which some kids need, I can go ahead and do the writing, and then I can turn on Immersive Reader and have it read to me to kind of help with that editing process. Okay, so that's in Microsoft Word. All right, so now we're going to move over into our Google environment, and we're going to pretend that we were writing in Google. Oh, and look at that. George Washington was our first president. He was born in Virginia, right? So now I'm going to show you a tool within Google that's voice typing. And Google voice typing is a really great, tool that if maybe that predictive text, I need a little more support, or I'm going to write words that are kind of, I know the vocabulary, but I'm really struggling with that spelling. So the way that I turn that on is I go over here to Tools, and you'll see voice typing right here. There's also the key, you can use the keyboard commands of Control-Shift-S. I'm going to click it one time. I may be prompted to allow it to have access to my microphone. I've done this before, so it hasn't asked me to do that. And you'll see it's gray, and it's not typing what I'm saying, thankfully. So you have kind of a moment to kind of gather your thoughts. It doesn't turn on right away. So it says click to speak. And I'm going to say, I'll tell you first so that you can then see how accurate I am. So Washington was the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. All right, let's see how I do. Washington was commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. And I click it when I'm done. If I wanted, I could have told it period, and it would have put in that punctuation. But sometimes that's like another step that kids, they can hit the period and move on, and that can be a little faster. What's kind of nice, you might not be able to see it on your view, but and is underlined. And if I right click on that, it will give me another option. Did I mean commander-in-chief of the Continental Army? But in this case, he was the commander-in-chief. So I can go ahead and keep writing. Now with this, maybe I also want to hear it back again. So then I could go up and I could activate Natural Reader that Megan showed you, and I could go ahead and go through the editing process with that. So those are just a couple of quick tools. I'm going to pop over to our website. Do you feel like we're kind of like on brand with this and kind of really honing in on our website? Again, I'm going to scroll down to our card for the technology tools to support all learners. And I'll show you some of the other things that you can take a peek at that we just don't have time to go into everything today. So here's the writing resources that I'll expand. And you'll see the Google voice typing. You'll see how you can use Google Draw. Oh, look at that. Google Keep is showing up. That was Jeff's part in executive function, but it all can support the writing, the reading, and getting kids to really have those tools at their fingertips and know how to use them really seamlessly. And that's the beauty behind these inclusive tools that, Jeff really touched on, is that they are everywhere. And so it's not, oh, I don't have that on this computer, I have it on that computer, or I need to upload something special. It just meets them where they are. And that's the beauty behind it. So really, here's Windows predictive text down here. And so you can go ahead and check that out if you wanted to view the tutorial. So I think, Jeff, you wanted to speak a little bit about some of the other things that people might want to focus in on in the conference, right?
Yes, Jennifer, thank you for wrapping that up. And if you don't mind, if you just kind of jump away from your screen, I can reshare mine. I appreciate it.
There we go.
All right. And bringing mine back up, just to kind of wrap things up. Again, I feel like we've have a very big topic, and to throw out two cliches, we scratched the surface of the tip of the iceberg, in all of this. So there's a lot of a lot of information to be had out there, and hopefully we've promoted our assistive technology services public website. We're trying to provide as much information as we can in that space without it becoming overwhelming. So, refer back to that website for all the resources to support all the information that we've provided directly to you today. But then also feel free to explore additional information that's there also, because you can find a lot more inclusive tools and a lot more inclusive strategies that support a lot of diverse student needs that are out there. In terms of participation specifically within this conference, I feel like we've given you a bit of an overview within this session, but there are other sessions that dive deeper into some of the things that we've spoken to. And that's the slide that I've just thrown up in front of you. And hopefully you can see it and, refer to it to go back to other sessions, because the nice thing is, and as opposed to this being a live conference, there's going to be a lot of recorded sessions out there. So you're not going to necessarily miss anything by attending this one. You can go back and refer back to more detailed sessions. And the first one that I have on that screen is Google Keep. I touched on Google Keep. You'll get a lot of specific information in Google Keep, the secret to making executive functioning easy at any age, in that session. The second session that's there is technology support, tools to support reading for all learners. So, that's the topic that Megan touched on very quickly. There'll be a little bit of Jennifer's pieces regarding writing and mentioned in that section also. And then, we saw the video for Emmy. Emmy, not only, they mentioned her as a participant in the Poplar Trees Paul's Tech team, but she's also one of our assistive technology student ambassadors. Our student ambassadors are presenting as well. Emmy's included within that group. So she may not necessarily be speaking to Immersive Reader, but other technology tools that she's found successful for her. So there's 3 sessions that are in front of you. I encourage you to explore those. You can dive in greater detail of things that we touched on today. And then, of course, if you need to have conversations about any of these inclusive tools, reach out to your school special education team. They're working continuously with their assistive technology resource teacher to have these tools promoted and communicated and used widely in not only special education environments, but in all environments inside of school buildings. So hopefully you found that informational, and again, hopefully not too overwhelming. And again, feel free to reach out anytime if you need additional information. And we thank you guys for taking the time to meet with us today.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We're coming to you from Assistive Technology Services in Fairfax County Public Schools. And to introduce myself, I'm the manager of the program of Assistive Technology Services.
And I'm Jennifer Carr, the educational specialist of Assistive Technology Services.
And I'm Megan Tracy, the technology integration specialist of Assistive Technology Services.
So I have to say, we did a couple outtakes of this video before. We're finally settling on this one, and we all fumbled. I can't say we all, I mainly fumbled over the title in the introduction. So, that was perfectly done. So congratulations to you guys who have longer titles than me, and I still managed to mess it up. So
I don't think you said your name.
I didn't say my name. Even better. I am Jeff Sisk. I am manager of the program of technology service. So here I was all proud.
Just one little piece.
Can we start over? Can we start over?
Oh, you really want me to start over?
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Because then I feel bad if you did say your name, and then I called you out. I was like 99% sure, but there was that one person.